Are you looking to buy a car? Well, slow down, take your time, because buying a car is a huge purchase and it can be a huge burden on your finances, especially if you're buying a new car. So before you go buy a car, let's consider the 23-8 rule. Now, if you've never heard of the 23-8 rule, this is not something I came up with. This is something that came up to my attention from The Money Guys. If you don't know about The Money Guys, look them up. They're a great finance channel for beginner finance and even advanced finances. 23-8 rule says that you put 20% down your car for a 3-year loan term, and it should be no more than 8% of your take-home pay. I like take-home pay. They may say pre-tax, whatever they say, I like take-home pay because that's what I see in my pockets. That's what comes to my bank account. So let's break these steps down one by one. 20% down. Now, why do we want to put 20% down on a vehicle when we could put 0% down? We could put 5 or 10% down. These car dealerships really make it easy to buy a car with no money down. But when you do that, you're more than likely going to be underwater. That's when you owe more on the loan than what the car's value is. So say you purchase a car and you put no money down. Say you got a $20,000 car, so you have a $20,000 loan. And then as soon as you drive off the lot, that car loses 10% of its value. So now that car is worth $18,000, but you bought it for $20,000 and you're already underwater. So if anything were to happen, say an accident, or if you found that you weren't able to actually afford this car and you turned it in, you're going to now owe the bank $2,000 because that $18,000 or whatever you're going to get back based on the car's value is going to go towards paying off the loan, but now you have a $2,000 gap. So we put down 20% instead of nothing, or instead of 10%. We put down 20% so we can ensure that we're not underwater, because as soon as you drop off the lot, your car is going to lose value. We need to put more money down towards this liability because it loses value every single day. So instead of having nothing in equity when you first get this car, we're going to now have $4,000 in equity because we put 20% down. So when this car loses 10% when you drive off the lot, you're going to still be in good standing because your loan is for $16,000, but the car was valued at $20,000 and now $18,000. So this rule just really helps you avoid being underwater with your vehicle. In the 3-year loan, now there's endless kind of loans out there that you can get. There's 6, I don't know, are there 10-year loans out there for vehicles? There's 5, there's 4. For example, we just bought a car, we put more than 20% down, and we actually put it on a 3-year loan. So by doing this, you avoid paying a lot in interest. Now, the longer you extend these loans, the more interest you're going to pay. Let me run some numbers because I like my little debt calculator. All right, let's say you buy a $20,000 car, put on 5 years, $4,000 down, which is 20%, but it's on 5 years. You're going to pay $1,600 in interest, and that's at a 4% rate. Then I put that at 3 years, you're going to pay $1,000 in interest. Now, this number changes drastically depending on your interest rate. So you want to make sure you have good credit so you have a good interest rate, and you want to make sure that you're not getting a loan that you cannot afford. You may be realizing now that a 3-year loan, you're going to have higher payments than if you were to extend this loan for maybe 5 or 6 years. And that's true, but you're paying less in interest. And interest really doesn't benefit you at all. This is the payment that the bank receives for you borrowing their money. So put these cars on a 3-year loan, maybe a 4-year. I like to stay strict. Keep it on a 3-year loan, so what we did with that car. So that loan payment is higher, but we're also paying less in interest. So this 3-year loan is so that you can avoid paying too much money in interest, because the last thing we want to do is extend this loan for 6 years and have it at some 7 or 8% interest rate. That's the last thing we want to do. We want to put this loan on a 3-year term, pay it off as soon as possible, and get back to wealth building because we needed a car for whatever reason, or we wanted a car because our financial situation is looking really good right now, so we want a car. For whatever reason we got this car, we need to get this car loan paid off as soon as possible so we can then put that money back towards saving and back towards investing. And finally, we have the 8% income limit. So we can do 8 to 10%, but the rule states that the monthly payment should be less than 8%, or you can do 10% of your income. I like take-home pay. So let's say we made $3,000 a month. So the monthly payment should be $300 or less if you're going to use this rule. So you need to find a car that you're going to be able to put 20% down on. It's going to be on a 3-year loan term, and the monthly payment is going to be $300. Now, this may not be that $30,000 or $40,000 car. This could be the $20,000 car. This could be the $15,000 car, or maybe a $10,000 car. This is a very conservative rule, especially when we're talking about using 8 to 10% of your take-home pay. This is not going to be some super fancy car unless you're going to put a lot of money down so you can get to that loan amount that's comfortable and within your budget. So that's the car buying rule that we go by, and that's literally the car buying rule that we went by when we purchased our new vehicle. We put 20% down, we put more than 20% down, and we put it on a 3-year loan term, and we actually got a better interest rate by doing that. Then we made sure that the payment is within 8 to 10% of our take-home pay, because that's what comes to our pocket. Trust me, at the end of the day, if our financial situation is not the greatest, or if we're not really investing in those marks, then we're not even gonna follow this rule. We're gonna go get a $5,000 car. We're gonna try our best so we can save up and pay for it in cash. And that's what we have when I have my Toyota Camry, and we still have the 2008 Honda CR-V. We pay for that car in cash. And I'm telling you, by even foregoing a car payment, you're going to be able to increase your wealth really fast. The things you're gonna see is gonna be really amazing, especially if you're able to avoid this car payment. And instead of putting $300 or $400 towards a car loan, you're going to put $300 or $400 to your Roth IRA or your brokerage account. By putting that amount of money, you can max out your Roth IRA every year just by foregoing a car payment. But this is kind of a last resort thing. Don't have $5,000 to put, or $5,000 or $10,000 to pay for a car in cash. Then you can use this car buying rule, and it should still put you in a favorable position financially. But you have to realize this is not going to get you that super expensive car unless your take-home pay is really, really high. So I use $3,000 as an example. But maybe your take-home pay is $10,000, and that 8% is going to be a lot higher compared to someone whose take-home pay is $3,000 or $4,000 a month. Let me know what you guys think about the video. I just think it's a very smart thing to do if you're going to buy a car on a loan. Not saying you should go out here and buy a car on a loan, because I prefer you to have a used car, especially if you're just starting out. You don't have anything in investments. I prefer you to just get a used car and invest the rest, invest the difference. You might be able to afford a car with these rules, but to be honest, why get a payment when you don't need one? Especially if your investments are not where they should be. Go buy a used car and invest the difference. So let me know what you guys think about the video. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.